What's happening, tennis fanatics? Welcome back to the only channel that brings you the real stories, the deep analysis, and the raw emotion behind every single breakthrough moment in tennis. Before we dive into this absolutely historic performance by Alexandra Eala at the Abu Dhabi Open that has the entire tennis world in complete shock, I need your support right now. We're grinding to reach 1,000 subscribers, and we cannot do it without you. If you want comprehensive, passionate tennis coverage that goes beyond the surface level highlights, if you want to understand why these moments matter and what they mean for the future of the sport, smash that subscribe button immediately. Hit that notification bell so you never miss when we break down these game-changing performances. Trust me, after you hear about how Alexandra Eala rose from the ashes of Manila heartbreak to absolutely demolish her opponent in Abu Dhabi and cement herself as a legitimate WTA top 50 player, you're going to want to be here for every single match she plays. Now, let's get into this absolutely insane story. Ladies and gentlemen, tennis fans, and especially to the millions of supporters witnessing history in the making across the Philippines and around the globe, what we just witnessed in the United Arab Emirates wasn't just a match. It wasn't just a routine round of 32 fixture in a WTA 500 event. It was a statement. It was a declaration. It was the undeniable, earth-shaking arrival of the Eala era. We're talking about the Mobadala Abu Dhabi Open 2026, and we're talking about a moment that the world did not see coming, but perhaps should have. Just days after a crushing emotional exit at the Philippine Women's Open, a loss that left fans in tears and critics questioning whether the pressure was too much, Alexandra Eala has risen from the ashes in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. The headline is simple, but the reality is complex. Alexandra Eala has shocked the world. She has taken the court at the Zayed Sports City International Tennis Center, not as a contender hoping for a lucky break, but as the most popular figure in the arena. A titan of the court who has officially cracked the code. She has advanced to the next round, but to say she advanced is an understatement. She conquered. Let's set the scene because context is everything. Picture this: the desert heat of Abu Dhabi, a stadium that should by all rights be neutral ground. Yet, as Eala walked out onto the hard court, it didn't sound like the Middle East. It sounded like Manila. It sounded like home. The roar of the overseas Filipino workers, the diaspora that has waited for a hero, filled the air, turning a foreign arena into a fortress for the Filipina sensation. This is the news that is shaking the tennis world right now. Alexandra Eala, fresh off achieving a historic career-high ranking of world number 45, has swept past her close friend and rival, Turkey's Zeynep Sönmez, in straight sets 6-4, 6-3. A scoreline that looks clean on paper but hides the absolute war of attrition, mental fortitude, and tactical brilliance that took place over 1 hour and 31 minutes. This victory is not just about moving to the round of 16, it's about resilience. It's about bouncing back from the Manila heartbreak where she fell to Camila Osorio. Many wondered if that loss would haunt her. Many wondered if the pressure of being the queen of Philippine tennis was finally weighing her down. Tonight, Alex answered those questions with a resounding no. She didn't just win, she dominated the narrative. She stepped onto the court against Sönmez, a player she knows intimately, a player she calls a friend, a player who's been making her own waves on the tour, and she put friendship aside for 90 minutes of pure, unadulterated focus. Why is this shocking? Why is the whole world buzzing? Because look at the bracket. Look at the carnage around her. While Eala was securing her destiny, giants were falling. The 8th seed, Paula Badosa, a name that strikes fear into opponents, was upset. Badosa is out. And who is left standing? The 20-year-old from the Philippines, the Rafael Nadal Academy graduate, who is no longer a prospect. She is a contender. This is the era we have been waiting for. The media is calling it the Eala era, and for good reason. For the first time in history, a Filipina stands inside the WTA top 50. Do you understand the gravity of that? Number 45 in the world, above Grand Slam finalists, above veterans with decades of experience. She has entered the elite echelon of women's tennis, and she celebrated that milestone by dismantling a world-class opponent on a global stage. The shock isn't that she won. The shock is how quickly she's evolved. We are seeing a new version of Alexandra Eala, a version that can take a punch in Manila and throw a knockout blow in Abu Dhabi less than a week later. The mental toughness required to reset, to fly across a continent, to ignore the jet lag, to ignore the noise and execute a game plan so flawlessly, that is the stuff of champions. That is the stuff of legends. And let's talk about that most popular tag in Abu Dhabi. Eala isn't just a participant, she is the main event. Reports coming out of the stadium confirmed that the crowd support for her rivaled that of top seeds. The energy was electric. Every forehand winner was met with thunderous applause. Every saved breakpoint was cheered as if it were a match point. She is carrying the hopes of a nation on her shoulders, and instead of crumbling, she is using it as fuel. To truly appreciate the magnitude of this victory, we must first rewind the clock. We have to go back a few days to the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center in Manila, the Philippine Women's Open. The atmosphere there was suffocatingly intense. It was a homecoming, the first WTA 125 event in the country. Alex Eala was the face of the tournament. The billboards, the commercials, the expectations, it was all on her. She fought her way to the quarterfinals, but she ran into a wall named Camila Osorio. That loss, it hurt. You could see it in her eyes during the post-match interviews. It wasn't just a loss, it was a heartbreak in front of her own people. Critics immediately pounced. They asked if the travel was too much. They asked if the home court curse was real. They questioned if she could mentally recover in time for a major WTA 500 event like Abu Dhabi. This is why the context matters. Most players after a devastating home loss would take a week off. They would retreat. They would lick their wounds. Alex did the opposite. She jumped on a plane. She flew to the Middle East. She went from the humidity of Manila to the dry heat of the UAE. And she arrived with a new status. On Monday, just hours before her match, the WTA rankings updated. For the first time ever, the number next to her name started with a 4, world number 45, the highest ranking ever achieved by a Filipina. Imagine the psychological dichotomy here. On one hand, the sting of the Manila loss. On the other hand, the validation of being a top 50 player. She walked onto the court in Abu Dhabi carrying both burdens, and she channeled them into pure focus. This wasn't just a tennis match. It was a redemption arc played out in real time. Now let's look at who stood across the net. Zeynep Sönmez, the Turkish star. This wasn't a random opponent. This was personal, but in the best way possible. Eala and Sönmez are close friends. They've played doubles together. They practice together. They know each other's games inside and out. Playing a friend is often harder than playing a stranger. There are no secrets. Sönmez knows Alex's cross-court forehand. Eala knows Zeynep's tendencies on the backhand wing. There's an emotional hurdle to clear. You have to want to destroy the person you grab dinner with. In the pre-match press, Eala spoke about this. She said, "I admire her so much. Our friendship goes beyond tennis." But once the umpire called play, that friendship was suspended. This is a crucial evolution in Eala's maturity. The ability to compartmentalize, to be a killer on the court and a friend off it. Sönmez is no slouch. She's ranked 79th in the world. She had a strong showing at the Australian Open qualifiers. She's a gritty baseline grinder who refuses to give up free points. Eala knew she couldn't just blast her off the court. She had to dismantle her. The match began, and immediately the tempo was set. The first set was a battle for territory. Both women were holding serve, feeling each other out. It was a tactical chess match. We reached 3-all in the first set. This is usually the danger zone in women's tennis. The 7th game syndrome. The pressure to break becomes immense. Eala sensed the moment. She dialed up the aggression on her return game. She started stepping inside the baseline, taking Sönmez's second serves early, robbing the Turkish player of time. She broke. She took the lead. She consolidated. Suddenly it was 5-3. Eala was serving for the set, but Sanmez held to make it 5-4. Now the pressure was squarely on Eala's racket. Serving for the set is never easy, especially against a friend who knows your serve patterns. But Eala didn't falter. She utilized that lefty slice serve out wide, the Nadal influence opening up the court. She closed out the first set 6-4. Why was this set so critical? Because in Manila against Osorio, Eala had struggled to close out tight sets. Here, she exercised those demons. She won the big points. She won the long rallies. She showed that the mental lapse of Manila was an anomaly, not a trend. If the first set was a battle, the start of the second set was a blitz. Eala came out firing. She didn't just want to win, she wanted to dominate. She raced to a 3-love lead, a double break. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. Her forehand was painting the lines. Her footwork was exquisite. She was sliding on the hard court, something she has improved significantly, retrieving balls that seemed impossible. But tennis is a game of momentum swings. Sanmez, to her credit, refused to roll over. Down love 3, the Turkish player started to fight back. She began to extend the rallies, forcing Eala to hit one extra ball. Errors started to creep into Eala's game. The score tightened. 3-1, 3-2. Then Sanmez broke back. It was 4-3. This was the crisis point of the match. The Manila Ghost could have returned. A 3-love lead evaporating to 4-3 can shatter a player's confidence. The crowd held its breath. The Filipino fans in the stands who had been chanting and cheering went quiet with anxiety. But this is where the Eala era showed its true colors. At 4-3 serving, facing a resurgent opponent, Alex produced her best tennis of the match. She engaged in a grueling rally at 30-all. She didn't play it safe. She went for a daring down-the-line winner. It landed in game point she held. 5-3. That hold broke Sanmez's spirit. You could see the body language change. Eala had weathered the storm. In the final game, Alex applied suffocating pressure on Sanmez's serve. She moved beautifully, anticipating every shot. Match point. Eala fires a deep return. Sanmez's shot goes wide. Game, set, match. 6-4, 6-3. Let's look at the numbers because numbers don't lie. The match lasted 1 hour and 31 minutes. That's a solid workmanlike duration. It wasn't a marathon that exhausted her, but it wasn't a walkover either. It was enough time to find a rhythm. Her first serve percentage was the key. Reports indicate she was landing a high percentage of first serves, which allowed her to dictate the point immediately. Against a counterpuncher like Sanmez, if you miss your first serve, you're immediately on the defensive. Eala didn't allow that. Eala, furthermore, her breakpoint conversion rate was lethal. When she had a chance to break, she took it. In modern tennis, the player who wins the big points wins the match. Eala won the big points. We cannot overstate the importance of the crowd. Abu Dhabi and the UAE in general is home to hundreds of thousands of Filipinos. When Alex plays there, she is not the visitor. She is a home favorite. Reports from the ground describe a sea of Philippine flags. Chants of "Let's go Alex" echoing around the Zayed Sports City. This energy transfer is real. In her post-match interview, Eala specifically thanked the kababayans, her countrymen. She said, "Maraming salamat sa suporta." Thank you very much for the support. This creates a unique advantage for her in Middle East swings. While other players are lonely, traveling from hotel to court, Eala is surrounded by a community that treats her like family. This emotional buffer is a secret weapon. It turns pressure into support. Let's take a step back and talk about the number 45. For decades, Philippine tennis has been searching for a global icon. We've had great players in the doubles circuit, great regional champions, but a singles player in the WTA top 50? This is uncharted territory. Being number 45 means you get direct entry into Grand Slams. It means you don't have to play qualifiers for most tournaments. It means you get better draws. It changes the entire logistics of your career. Entering this match as a top 50 player carries weight. You are now the hunted rather than the hunter. Lower-ranked players like Sanmez, ranked 79, look at Eala as a target. Alex handled that status perfectly. She played like a top 50 player. She played with authority. This ranking also validates the path she took. The sacrifices of moving to Spain, training at the Rafa Nadal Academy, the grueling ITF circuit, it has all led to this. She is now rubbing shoulders with the very best in the world. Not as a fan, but as a peer. So, what is next? The celebration must be short-lived because the round of 16 presents a fascinating challenge. She will face Alexandra Sasnovich. Now on paper, Sasnovich is ranked lower, number 109. But do not let that number fool you. Sasnovich is a veteran. She's a dangerous floater. And more importantly, she just defeated the 8th seed Paula Badosa. Sasnovich beat Badosa from a set down. She won 4-6, 6-3, 6-1. That tells us that Sasnovich is in form. She's gritty and she's capable of beating top-tier talent. Eala versus Sasnovich is going to be a battle of styles. Sasnovich has a flat, hard-hitting game. Eala has lefty spin and courtcraft. But here's the advantage for Eala. Sasnovich just played a grueling three-setter against Badosa. Eala played a relatively efficient straight-setter. The physical edge goes to the Filipina. Moreover, the psychological edge is with Eala. She's on the ascent, hitting career highs. Sasnovich is fighting to get her ranking back up. Eala has the momentum of the ERA. Why are we calling this the Eala era? Because it feels sustainable. This doesn't feel like a lucky streak. When you watch Alexandra play in 2026, you see a complete player. In 2024 and 2025, we saw flashes of brilliance mixed with inconsistency. We saw a great forehand but a vulnerable serve. We saw fighting spirit but occasional mental lapses. In Abu Dhabi, we saw the total package. The serve is harder and more placed. The backhand down the line is a legitimate weapon. The net game, honed by her doubles play, is sharp, and the mental game is ironclad. She's 20 years old. This is the prime age for a tennis breakout. We are witnessing the transition from promising junior to WTA star. The world is shocked because they didn't pay attention to the incremental improvements. They only see the headline, "Beat Sanmez." But we, the deep divers, we know that this win was built on months of hard work in the gym, months of refining technique, and the hardening of spirit in tournaments like the Australian Open and the Philippine Women's Open. This win in Abu Dhabi is a signal flare. It tells the rest of the tour, I am here, I am top 50, and I am not stopping. As the sun sets over the Zayed Sports City in Abu Dhabi, the landscape of Asian tennis has shifted, perhaps permanently. We started this broadcast with a headline about shock, about a new era, and about popularity. After dissecting the match, the context, and the statistics, I think we can all agree that those weren't just buzzwords. They were the truth. Alexandra Eala has done what many thought was impossible just a few days ago. She has taken the bitterness of a home soil defeat and transmuted it into the gold of a desert victory. She has validated her historic top 50 ranking, not with arrogance, but with a workmanlike dismantling of a quality opponent. The 6-4, 6-3 victory over Sanmez will go down in the record books as a round of 32 win. But for those of us following the narrative, it is so much more. It's the moment Alex Eala proved she belongs. It's the moment she proved she can carry the weight of a nation, the weight of a ranking, and the weight of expectation, and still perform with grace and lethality. The path forward is treacherous but exciting. Alexandra Sasnovich waits in the wings, a battle-hardened veteran who just took out a giant. The round of 16 will be a war. But if Alex brings the same focus, the same serve, and the same clutch mentality she showed against Sanmez, there is no reason she cannot go deeper. There's no reason she cannot dream of the quarterfinals, the semifinals, or even the title. Remember, she's doing this in front of a crowd that adores her. The most popular player in Abu Dhabi is not the top seed. It's a 20-year-old from the Philippines. That energy is a tangible force. It lifts her up when she's down. It intimidates opponents. It turns every match into a home game. We are witnessing the blossoming of a superstar, Not just a tennis player, but a global sporting icon. The Eala era isn't a prediction anymore. It is our current reality. We are living in it. This deep dive has shown us the mechanics of her win, but the heart of the victory is something you can't measure with stats. It's the fire. It's the refusal to be defined by a previous loss. It's the courage to keep climbing. As we look toward the next round, the question isn't, can she win? The question is, how far can she go? And right now, looking at her form, the sky is the limit. All right, everyone, now I want to hear from you. The Eala army, the tennis historians, the casual fans. What did you think of Alex's performance against Sanmez? Was the second set recovery the turning point of her season? And what's your prediction for the showdown against Sasnovich? Can she take down the giant killer? Drop your predictions, your analysis, and your messages of support in the comments below. We read every single one of them. We want to build the biggest community of tennis analysis right here. If you enjoyed this extensive deep dive breakdown and want to stay updated on every single point, every single match, and every single breaking news story from the Eala era, you know what to do. Smash that like button to show your support for Alex. Hit subscribe so you never miss a match analysis. And ring that notification bell because the news in Abu Dhabi is moving fast, and you need to be the first to know. The world is shocked. The Eala era has begun, and Alexandra Eala is going to the next round. Until next time, keep your eyes on the rising star from the Philippines. This is history in the making, and you're witnessing it right here. Peace out.